Jon Moxley is still the AEW World Champion after retaining the AEW World Championship in the main event of AEW Dynasty, thanks to interference from a returning Young Bucks against Swerve Strickland. However, there was a very negative reaction to the outcome on social media, with many people hoping that Moxley, being the World Champion and the Death Rider storyline, would conclude at Dynasty, leading many to speculate just when will Moxley drop the championship and who will he drop the championship to. We'll let you know which AEW stars could be set to dethrone Moxley in this countdown video. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of stories to get into. Before we get into today's countdown video, a reminder, you can join the WN365 roster. You can click the link in the video description. You can also click the join button. Also, when it comes to the sidebar, you can scan the QR code when it appears, and you can join the WN365 roster, get your badges, your emojis, and your exclusive members-only content. In addition to that, whilst you're checking out the sidebar, you can see all upcoming watch-alongs and post-shows, including WWE WrestleMania later on this month. Now, let's get into today's countdown video and asking the question, who defeats Moxley and wins the AEW World Championship from the leader of the Death Riders? Now, at the time recording this video, we're fresh off AEW Dynasty on Sunday, April 6th, 2025, and the main event saw Jon Moxley successfully retain his AEW World Championship against Swerve Strickland. The outcome of the match led to many fans being frustrated and venting their anger on social media after hoping to see Strickland win the championship and hoping to see the end of the Death Rider storyline. But it's led to people start to speculate and look forward to just when is Moxley going to drop the championship and who is he going to drop the title to. Let's get into some names that could be set to defeat Moxley and be the next AEW World Champion, beginning with the Billy Goat himself, Will Ospreay. Now, at the time recording this video, the Owen Hart Foundation men's tournament is ongoing, but Ospreay has advanced to the next round, defeating Kevin Knight in the opening match of AEW Dynasty, and a lot of people have speculated that Ospreay could be on his way to an AEW All-In Texas main event, challenging for the World Championship. Of course, the winner of the Owen Hart Foundation's men tournament will compete in the main event of AEW All-In for the AEW World Championship, similar to how Bryan Danielson did last year. He won the tournament and then went on to AEW All-In and defeated Swerve Strickland to become the AEW World Champion. And some are speculating that Ospreay has been groomed ever since he's come into AEW to be the next real face of the company. He's a super popular babyface. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. Some people like his promos, some people don't like his promos, but one thing's for certain, the AEW audience really does love Will Ospreay. In addition to that, Ospreay, despite still being based in the United Kingdom, does make most televisions and is a loyal waving flag member of the AEW roster. He's spoken about how Tony Khan has changed his life and spoken about going back at Triple H when Triple H was referencing him running from the grind in WWE. So it would appear that he's an AEW for lifer. And as I said, a really vocal member of the roster. Certainly backstage, he was also a name that actually was willing to put over Swerve Strickland when he won the AEW World Championship at Dynasty last year, putting him over in the main event of Forbidden Door later on that year. And a lot of people thought that possibly Ospreay, when he came into AEW, was immediately going to get in the AEW World Championship picture. That wasn't the case. Initially, he was going after the International Championship, and last year, of course, at AEW All In London, he had a match against MJF in which he won back the AEW International Championship. But fast forward 12 months later, could Ospreay be competing once again in a major match, the main event match at AEW All In Texas at Global Life Field, and challenging Moxley for the AEW World Championship? Of course, the whole Death Rider storyline is about taking hostage of AEW and trying to rid AEW of a disease. And could Will Ospreay be the babyface that indeed saves All Elite Wrestling? At this point, even the briefcase holding the championship, nobody's seen the AEW World Championship for so long, leading some to speculate that we're going to be getting an AEW World Championship redesign or a rebrand or something like that. So possibly, with Ospreay being crowned as the next guy, the next top babyface, the next face of the company, that could come in the main event of AEW's biggest show of the year, their biggest ever North American show, in addition to a brand new championship bout design as well. So Ospreay is certainly one name that a lot of people are considering could be the person to dethrone Moxley, possibly in the main event of All In Texas. But he still has to win the Owen Hart Foundation Men's Tournament first. Now, going over to Swerve Strickland, now you might be saying, Owen, how can Swerve Strickland be the one to defeat Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship? At the time recording this video, he just had an opportunity. He just had a chance at the AEW World Championship in the main event of AEW Dynasty, and he lost. Well, the reason I say that is something that I alluded to at the top of this video. And what I alluded to is the backlash, is the fan frustration on social media. After last night's AEW Dynasty event, at the time recording this video, there was a huge amount of frustration, a huge amount of very, very vocal criticism of the booking of the main event at Dynasty. As I mentioned, a lot of people were frustrated and a lot of people are angry and a lot of people, frankly, are just quite tired of the Death Rider storyline. They're not interested in it. They want to see AEW go into a different direction. They're saying that they're enjoying other stuff on the show. They're enjoying other segments, other things that are happening that AEW has to offer, but they're just not enjoying this Jon Moxley faction. They're not enjoying the matches. They're not enjoying the storyline. They think it's dull. They think it's boring, and it's time for a change. It's time for something new. Now, going into Dynasty last night, people hoped that 1 year after he won his first AEW World Championship, Swerve Strickland would win the championship for a second time. Now one of the most popular baby faces in the company. Huge reaction. He's main evented multiple matches, and I talk about Will Ospreay being one of the faces of AEW. It certainly feels like Swerve Strickland also is a card-carrying, flag-waving member, top vocal advocate of All Elite Wrestling, has done a lot of media, a lot of press, been very outspoken about, of course, representation in AEW and how he collaborates with Tony Khan. He certainly feels like an AEW for lifer, considering how his WWE career ended too. So people thought maybe now was the right time. Swerve's popular heading into AEW All In Texas season. The road to AEW All In Texas is beginning roughly around right now. People thought Swerve wins in the main event of All In Texas. Could then be Swerve versus Hangman once again, maybe in a Texas death match, main event in that show inside of a stadium. What a fantastic rivalry they've had. It just made a lot of sense to a lot of people, and it was a nice way just to end this Death Rider storyline and move on. Now, of course, we didn't get that. Obviously, AEW and Tony Khan have different plans for the AEW World Championship, but the reason that Swerve's still could be the next guy to defeat Moxley is an audible could be called. This is pro wrestling after all. One of the most fantastic things about pro wrestling is you can listen to the audience. You can listen to the online reaction. Now, sometimes it's not the best idea, because if you've got a plan, you should stick to it. You should stay the course, and you should stick with the original idea, the original plan, and persist with it. That's the right thing to do in the end. But sometimes the beauty of pro wrestling is that you can listen to the audience and you can make these snap decisions. You can go in a different direction and give the crowd what they want, or pivot and move to something bigger, move to something better, move to something more contemporary, because sometimes the crowd changes things, life changes things, people grow, suddenly people appear out of nowhere, popularity can surge. And unlike in a movie when it's already filmed and the script is already there, or a TV series where the episodes were filmed months ago, years ago, and there's nothing you can do about it, pro wrestling's got the fortune of going week to week, listening to reactions and changing plans if they need. So Strickland, even though he lost against Jon Moxley in the main event of AEW Dynasty, even though it looks like he's possibly going to be feuding with the Young Bucks moving forward, Tony Khan and AEW could change their mind, and they could say, actually, Swerve's popular, the crowd wants Swerve, so they want Swerve as the AEW World Champion. All right, let's do a rematch and have Swerve this time win the championship and going a different direction. That is still possible. It feels unlikely given the finish that we saw at Dynasty, but anything's possible, certainly in professional wrestling. Now, when you talk about Swerve Strickland in AEW, you have to talk about Hangman Adam Page, another former AEW World Champion. Of course, we've seen a big metamorphosis of Hangman Page over the last 12 to 18 months, particularly with his feud with Swerve Strickland, transitioning from a babyface, a lovable babyface, into a heel, a real dastardly heel, burning down Swerve Strickland's childhood home. We've seen him be ultra violent with Strickland in lights out matches, whether it's using hypodermic needles, whether it's using barbed wire, whether it's blood, death matches, you name it. We've seen just a complete change in Hangman Page. And throughout this change, we're now on to a sort of next evolution of the Hangman Page character, as it looks like he's transitioning back into being a babyface. In the last few weeks, he's shown more babyface tendencies. It looks like he's closer to being on the same page as Swerve Strickland. Swerve admitting that Hangman Page was right to burn down his home. In the main event of AEW Dynasty, we did see Hangman Page come out, and he had this kind of confliction, really. He was conflicted about what he was going to do. He was setting up for the buckshot lariat, and there was Moxley, and there was Swerve Strickland, and it looked like he was thinking, what's right? Do I go after Moxley? Do I get the championship out of the stranglehold that the Death Riders have, or do I continue to punish Swerve? I don't think Swerve's the right guy to lead the company. He's the wrong guy. He can't be world champion again. I'm going to stop him. He didn't have an opportunity to make that decision because the Death Riders attacked him, but later on in the match, we did see Hangman Page hit the Deadeye on Jon Moxley, once again kind of cementing this idea that after he retired Christopher Daniels in his last match, he's been slowly turning babyface ever since. Now, because of the outcome of AEW Dynasty, with the Young Bucks getting involved and costing Swerve Strickland the match, a lot of people have predicted, myself included, that going into AEW All in Texas at Global Life Field, we could actually be getting enemies turned tag team partners, foes turned friends, if you will, and having Swerve Strickland and Hangman Page team up against the Young Bucks at All in Texas. But because that's the case, maybe Hangman Page is going to be one of the next names to challenge for the AEW World Championship in the meantime. Maybe it's going to be Hangman Page versus Jon Moxley. Maybe not at Double or Nothing. Some people have speculated we might get Anarchy in the arena of that show. Maybe at Forbidden Door we get Hangman versus Moxley. That's certainly a possibility as well. So maybe Hangman's going to be the guy. He's already been AEW World Champion once, defeating Kenny Omega, ending his record-breaking reign at that time. Maybe Hangman Page is going to be the one, once again, sort of the original person who was sort of the underdog babyface that eventually, after several setbacks, won the big one. Maybe it's going to be a case of a bit of an Anakin Skywalker storyline where the good guy goes to the dark side, you can't believe it, but eventually finds himself, redeems himself by winning the AEW World Championship and taking it out of the hands of the Death Riders. That could certainly be possible too. Now, there has been this theory when it comes to this whole Death Rider storyline that this is all a platform, this is all a vehicle to eventually have the AEW World Championship on Darby Allin. Now, there have been reports and rumors suggesting that Darby Allin has been penciled in for an AEW World Championship reign for the longest time. In fact, when Bryan Danielson won the AEW World Championship from Swerve Strickland at AEW All in London last year, there were reports that Danielson's final match as a full-time wrestler was, of course, going to be at WrestleDream in his home state of Washington, and it was going to be against another Washington native, that being Darby Allin. And Darby Allin would defeat Danielson in his final match as a full-time wrestler, win the AEW World Championship, and, you know, the torch would be passed to the younger top babyface in the company. Of course, that didn't happen. In the end, they went with a different route. They went with Bryan Danielson versus Moxley. There were some suggestions that that was the plan all the time, and it was kept very close to the vest. We don't know. But we have heard these rumors and reports for a while that the next person to hold the AEW World Championship after Moxley would be Darby. Now, this is where it gets complicated, though, because Darby Allin's not on AEW television right now. Darby Allin is, at the time of recording this video, just days away from climbing Mount Everest. Yes, the tallest peak in the world, Darby Allin is going to be climbing. I think it's around April 15th he starts his climb, and the suggestion is, according to recent reports, that that whole process could take 2 months' time. It might even take longer, considering Darby's lack of experience in climbing big mountains. So, would it even be feasible? Is he even going to be back for AEW's biggest event of the year, AEW All in Texas? That's currently unknown. In addition to that, what kind of physical shape is Darby Allin going to be in when he comes back? If he comes back, there's serious health risks to climbing Mount Everest. Can you even have someone penciled in to be the next world champion if they survive climbing the tallest mountain, the biggest mountain in the world? That seems, frankly, quite bizarre and very, very risky. Now, Moxley in some of his promos has spoken about being the AEW World Champion and climbing the proverbial mountain to win the championship. Some have speculated that that's a tease and a purposeful one by Moxley, suggesting that it's going to be a person who climbed a literal mountain is the person to climb the metaphorical mountain and defeat Moxley. But as time goes on, it just feels more and more unlikely that Darby's going to be the guy. But maybe this has been the plan all along, and they're just waiting until Darby gets back. It might not be news that people want to hear, or speculation that people want to hear, because that would mean the Death Rider storyline is going to continue for quite some time, and Moxley is going to hold the AEW World Championship for considerable time as well. Now, finally, could we go full circle when it comes to all of this and have Bryan Danielson defeat Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship? Now, of course, Bryan Danielson won the AEW World Championship at AEW All In last year at Wembley Stadium, defeating Swerve Strickland in one of sort of the most, emotionally high moments in AEW history. Danielson had spoke about how 2024 was going to be his final year as a full-time wrestler. Coming back in 2023, he said he's spoken to his daughter and she wanted her father at home more often, so he's going to do one more year. Then his contract was going to expire, and that was it. And everyone knew that Danielson was winding down. Now, he competed in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, won it, and then defeated Swerve Strickland in an incredibly emotional match at AEW All In. And after that, it was like, we don't know how long's left, but Danielson's got to go out as a world champion. Now, according to backstage reports, he really didn't want to be the world champion. He had no interest in holding the championship. Tony Khan had to really twist his arm to do it, and eventually he dropped the championship not long after to Jon Moxley in the main event of Wrestle Dream, and was written off television after a vicious attack from the Death Riders. Now, it must be stressed. Bryan Danielson is not retired as an active in-ring performer. What he is, though, is retired as an active full-time performer. Bryan Danielson has stated, or at least stated prior to all of this happening, that he would still ideally wrestle once or twice a year. Maybe not. He wouldn't wrestle at all for 2 or 3 years, and then he would wrestle once or twice a year or once a year. And then, he would just basically play it by ear, depending on the moment, depending on the match, depending on the opponent, depending on a lot of different factors. So some are suggesting that Bryan Danielson still could come back. He still could come back, and he could be the one to wrestle the championship away from Moxley. Moxley was the one who took the title away from Bryan Danielson and held AEW hostage, and it's for Danielson to come back and for Danielson to take the championship away, and then maybe drop it once again to a Darby Allin or something along those lines. Obviously, there's a big health consideration here. Bryan Danielson has been very vocal and very honest about the health issues that he's got. He hasn't undergone neck surgery since Wrestle Dream. He's openly stated he's trying to avoid it. He underwent neck surgery just after he won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship in 2014. Had a lot of issues with his neck then, and surgery, he said, only made things worse, so he's trying to avoid it. But it's 50-50, and he said that he's in considerable pain, and if undergoing surgery means he'll never wrestle again, but it means he'll have a better quality of life, then he'll do it. So he doesn't care if he doesn't wrestle again, but he would like to ultimately. But Bryan Danielson's also a notorious liar. Bryan Danielson is also someone that plays it very, very close and likes to work people. He's open when he says he likes to lie. So who's to say at AEW's biggest event of the year, they don't get Bryan Danielson back to face Moxley, defeat him for the championship, and then maybe drop it a month later to Darby Allin. Anything's possible when it comes to Bryan Danielson. We've seen this guy get injured, meant to be out for months, and then he came back and wrestled Ricky Starks in a strap match just after CM Punk got fired in 2023. And nobody thought Danielson was going to come back that early just then. So we shall see, but it would be maybe a fitting end that the person who was really a catalyst for the creation of the Death Riders, that being Bryan Danielson, being turned on by casting Noli, by Wheeler Yuta, by Moxley, and then the addition of Pac, maybe it's actually Bryan Danielson. Maybe Bryan Danielson's the person to end this storyline once and for all. So there you go, guys. There are some names who could be next to defeat Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. What are your thoughts on some of those names there? Who do you think is going to be the person to defeat Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship? What are your thoughts in this Death Rider storyline? Is AEW going to see it out and go with the original plan? Do they even have an original plan for this one, or are they just waiting to see who gets hot? Or will there be an audible? Will there be a change of plans considering what happened at Dynasty? Let me know your thoughts, your reactions, your hot takes, everything in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. As you can see right there, we're currently at 20,534. Just this time last week, we were at 20,000. We just hit 20,000 subscribers. So the fact that we are now over 20,500 is absolutely incredible. Huge shout out, huge big ups to everyone who's recently subscribed. Huge shout out and big ups to everyone that's been subscribed since day one or anywhere in between. It's absolutely mind blowing for me. Hope you guys are enjoying the content. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. We do daily news videos, countdown videos as well, and several upcoming live watch alongs and post shows. In addition to members content, if you haven't already, you can join the WN365 roster. Links in the video description. Click the join button or scan the QR code. Appreciate everyone for tuning in, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.